Hi guys, welcome to this session in Microsoft Access. In this module, I want to continue building this booking database. Just to recap where we are at the moment, if I go to Database Tools and click on Relationships, we have three tables: a customer table with a one-to-many link into bookings, and a courses table with a one-to-many link into bookings as well. So that's how the database is sitting. What we've got down the left hand side is the objects that we've done so far. So we've got a few queries, a bookings query, for example, which if I go into design on that, it's basically got those three tables in there, and I've pulled the information across for that. And we've got a form for customers with the bookings table embedded at the bottom there. But what I want to do in this little video is look at invoices, how to create an invoice based on these bookings. So at the moment, all that's happening is if somebody books for this customer, there's the information, great. Booking ID is the primary key for that table. But what it's not giving me is an option to send an invoice to this customer. And it's also not giving me an option to enter a purchase order somewhere. Now I want to go and do that on the bookings table and then see how that transforms through to these forms and reports that I might have already created. So this is a situation sometimes happens when you're developing a database where you forgot to add a particular field, hopefully before you get to the end of the database and you've started using it for a while. So this data we've got at the moment is just testing data, so that should be okay. If I go into the bookings table though, right click and then design, I want to add a invoice number field. So invoice, I'm not going to have this as an auto number. I'll just have it as a number, or you can have it as short text, but I'll just have it as a number, so it's just going to be a number. And then PO, purchase order, will have to be short text because some companies send you purchase orders and they're alphanumeric, so you can't just have it as a numbered field. So I've added those there. If I save these, have a look, obviously that's going to be a blank column. So what we've got to do here now is sort of work out which company is the same, or it's the same booking. So you've got customer ID 1, 2, 3, 5, 5. So there's two there, look, and there's one again there. So even though these are different dates, I'm going to give them purchase order, an invoice number, should I say. I'll just go 101 for that one. So there's an invoice number, and that was customer 1. Customer 1's down here as well. I'll go 101 as well. You see why you need to not type loads of data in without thinking this through, because obviously you're going to get so customer 2, you could end up typing quite a lot of these out. 102, and customer 3, 103, separate invoices. Customer 5, 104, and then another 104 underneath. So that's like the same invoice but with two jobs on it. And then customer 6, 106. That'll do. And then not every customer gives a purchase order, and like I said, there could be alphanumeric. So I'll go A123 for that one, and then the purchase order for this one, customer 2, can be BZ5, something like that. Customer number 3 is going to be AS121, and then customer number 5, we've got 2 going to be the same here, so we'll go NH23 and then NH23 again, like that. So they both got the same purchase order. One is Alpha 123, so that's the same as that one, say, for example. And then this 6 one can be whatever, M111. So I filled in those fields. So let's see what that has now done to the rest of this database, because these are new columns and we need to have a look to see if they've pulled through. So in the query bookings, that column is not through there. Do I need that column through there? Probably not. unless I'm using this as an input mechanism. So if I look at that form, query bookings, so if I'm using this to input information, I would need to add those extra columns. But let's have a look where I am going to use it. If I go into this form, so now I'm coming to this form, and you can see that both those columns have come through automatically. Now that didn't used to happen in older versions of Microsoft Access, but now that has happened, which is really good. What I'm going to do is go into design on bookings and add those two fields. So I've got let's get rid of some of this stuff. Move that up a bit. So if I go for invoice number and purchase order number, just to come in there, just run that query to make sure that picks them up. Yes, it does. Save that query. So now what I can do is do another copy of this query. So I'm going to close that one down because that's okay. I'm going to right click on it and copy it, and what I'll do there is just paste it straight away back in there, but call it not copy. I'll call it invoice, QRY booking invoice. Like that. And then on that one, if I go into design on it, I can get myself underneath the invoice number over here, invoice number, and do a parameter query. So I'm going to do a square bracket and type enter invoice number, closing the parameter query with a square bracket. So when I run that, I can type 101 and it gives me that information, 101. That's the invoice. So now I need that to be in a report. So I'll close this down. Yes, I do want to save it. So what I do now is I base a report on that. So I'll go create report, and I'll do 101 again, 101, and it will create a default report, which doesn't look great. So there's of course, there's the total amount, purchase order. These boxes need to be made smaller. To be honest, a little session I might come back and redo this completely and have it as a just coming down the page instead of going all the way across like this, because I don't like it. But for now, if I close that down, I need to change that as well. If I close that down, I will save that. I'll call it RPT invoice. RPT QRY bookings invoice. Okay. If I go back into that, it's going to ask me for a different invoice number. Not that one. That one. So I'll go 102. I don't know what that one is. It's just that one. There you go. And every time you run that, it's going to run the parameter query, and you'll get your invoice coming up there. So that's all I want to do in this little video, how you can add an invoice number in a purchase order column and then use a parameter query to generate an invoice per customer as required. So hopefully that little video is of use. Thank you for your time, and I'll catch you in the next one.